The Post Newspaper Podcast, your community news.
Miss Celeste, last name Meyerhoff.
Now, do you come from the area, or are you coming outside the League City area?
Outside the League City area, but we border over there in Santa Fe.
So, how did you get involved with music? Is it something you've done for a long time, or is it something that's kind of new to you?
It's something that I've privately done for a long time. I started playing guitar when I was 14 or 15, self-taught. Everything that I know is 100% what I've learned off of YouTube and just teaching myself. And then back in 2020, I got involved with my church's band, and so that's when I started to actually outwardly sing and play guitar and stuff like that. But personally and privately, I've been doing it for about 10 years.
Okay, and what church would that be?
Abundant Life Christian Center. It's in Lamarck.
Oh yeah, you know Gardy?
I do,
Yeah.
yes.
You know, me and Gardy and Kurt are friends. They just got a warehouse down here that they're doing. I don't know if you saw they're doing their multimedia.
Yes.
I've actually had those guys on one of my podcasts. So,
Awesome.
well, that's good. And I noticed some of the, I think it's the second song that you sang had some religious, no, not the second, the first one had some religious overtones.
Yes.
So would you say that most of the music you sing is faith-based, or is it a little bit of a mix?
Yes, so I actually had a really hard time trying to find some songs to sing here because the majority of what I do is, leading worship with my band or with our church band.
Okay.
At the Abundant Life. So all of the stuff that I normally do is, praise and worship and all that kind of stuff. But I wanted something that was true to that, so that's why I picked the Look What You've Done. And God's personally done a lot in my life, so I wanted to give him the glory first. And then the second song was by Reba, because that's kind of the style that I really love to play. And so I wanted to kind of do a little bit of both, give glory to God first, and then do a different song after that.
Okay. Now, talking about this event in particular, I know they've been doing smaller versions of these for a while, and then I think the last couple of these have been in League Park, where we're at now. Have you ever been out here before? Is this something new to you, or how did you find out about it?
No, so this is actually the first time I've played anywhere outside of a church.
Okay.
So I've never played in front of people that's specifically for me singing. So this is the first time I've done anything like that. And my mom actually found it on Facebook, and she was like, hey, you should do this. So I signed up actually last month, and then, we got the rain out, so they got moved to February, which is today. So yeah, I just found out about it on Facebook, signed up, and I've been wanting to do more stuff about, going and singing in different places. So this was a good way to get my foot in the door and start doing that.
Okay. So when you come out here, there's a pretty good crowd of people. If I had to guess, probably maybe 250 or 300. Now, I don't know what normal church attendance is like for Abundant Life. It looks like a pretty big church, but for someone who hasn't sang in this setting before, is there any intimidation? Is there any nerves that go into this, or just excitement? Or kind of talk about the experience coming up here and singing the first time.
Yeah, so very nerve-wracking. I really haven't eaten anything today because I've been so nervous about singing, because I kind of have a different mindset whenever I'm in worship. It's not about me. It's not about what I'm doing. It's about the congregation and praising God. So it's kind of like a new thing for me of like, okay, these people are listening to me sing. So it's kind of like a new level of nerves, but I just told myself, God gave me these gifts, and I know that I can sing, I can play the guitar, and I just need to do what I know how to do. And after I came out here and did that first song, it's kind of like all the nerves drained out of me, and everybody's so welcoming here. The crowd was really fantastic. So I really appreciate everything like that. So yeah, it was really nerve-wracking at first, but once I started to do it, it's what I'm born to do. So it's kind of like letting my breath out or taking a deep breath in. Sorry.
Okay, well, that sounds good. So when you're not doing these and you're not playing at the church, is music your full-time gig? Do you do other things?
Well, it's not my full-time gig as in making money by doing it. I am actually a merchandiser for Tractor Supply, but I got a job in 2020 which allowed me to start doing music with my church, to where I work Monday through Thursday with Tractor Supply, and I work 10-hour days, so I can do that and then be at church on Wednesdays and Sundays. But as far as music being my life, it 100% is. I actually have a tattoo on my arm right here. and it's a music notes and a heartbeat, because music is 100% the heartbeat of my soul. And I would not be able to live, breathe, or interact with anybody if I didn't have music in my life. It runs through my blood, and I know I was born to do this.
A lot of people who play music do so because they had family members or friends or someone close to them, and they saw that inspiration. Did you have that inspiration, or did your interest in music come from outside of your circle?
So my mom actually sings a little bit. She was on the church choir whenever she was growing up. But honestly, for as early as I can remember, I was always singing songs with the radio. I always wanted a guitar. I was always 100% into whatever song is playing. I really run my life. But yeah, so in every day of my life is really, it's kind of run by what kind of music I'm listening to. If I'm in a good mood, I'm listening to good music. If I need to feel my feelings, I'm listening to bad music. And it's really just an everyday part of my life.
And I guess in conclusion, how many hours would you say you're practicing, whether it's not necessarily for this, because I know it's kind of a one-off thing, but for church or something like that? Do you spend a couple of hours a week, or talk about kind of your practice regimen?
So I don't know what you would kind of consider practice. Music is kind of like a therapy for me, so I do it every day. I get my guitar out. I have a piano stand that's right in my room, and then my guitar's sitting right behind it. So as soon as I get home from work, it's like unwinding, and that's my relaxing time. And I don't know if you would technically call it practice, because I'm not doing any kind of specific songs, but I'll have a melody in my head that day, and I'll want to play it out and try and write something off of it or anything like that. But it's pretty much an everyday. I mean, there's days here and there that it just doesn't happen, but it's a very relaxing thing for me to do. So I would say countless hours. Like I couldn't even tell you. Just every night I'm doing something.
Okay. And I guess tying into that, with the work that you're doing with songs in your church, have you formed any kind of social media stuff, or if people are interested in maybe following what you're doing, or is that still something you haven't developed yet for maybe your own projects in the future?
That's not something that I've developed yet, but I think I'm going to post some of the stuff that I've done here today. So if people want to follow me, I'm on Instagram at QueenBug16 or QueenBug2016, I believe. And I'll probably post some stuff for it tonight, and I want to do more about posting music and whatnot, but I haven't done that as of yet. So
okay. Do you see yourself doing more of these as they come about, or kind of had your taste and that was it?
No, 100%. Like I'm gonna try and come back as much as I can, and I want to try and branch out and do as much music as I can. Now that I've got the nerves out, I really want to do this and see where it goes.
Sounds good.
My first name is Jay, J-A-Y. Last name is Rudolph, R-U-D-O-L-P-H. But I go by Rudy as a nickname.
Okay. And Rudy, I know Mike introduced you, someone that's helped to do this, and Alvin, but obviously you're a musician yourself. So, I know that you could probably go on to write chapters on the origins of your music, but give me the sort of the once-over, the basics of your interest and involvement in music.
Well, I mean, that would be a real long story, but the short, as far as meeting with Mike, Tucker, and Rachel, who are really the three that was like the axis, so to speak, I think, of this whole thing happening. I was so impressed with them and how hard they worked at it, but yet didn't ask anything. Everywhere, you always wonder why are people doing what they do? And when you find people doing it because they love what they do, then I love that. So it was a natural. I was just fortunate. Some friends told me about it. I put in for the first show, and we played over at the Ice House, and it's inspired me too. And it also challenges. There's been so many young people that play here, and there's not a lot of places around here where original music is like so appreciated. People are actually listening out there. It's not just a party or something. It's an actively listening audience, which really challenges your young, and challenges me. I'm nervous every time I go up there. But Mike, and with his historical society, his leadership, he's been a beautiful guy to know. And Tucker Hart and Rachel Hart, starting the League City Folk Association. I am just I was so inspired, and I live in Alvin, so last year I said, I'm going to step forward because Alvin needs, music. It's a field of dreams. Let's give it a run. They did the same thing. They didn't know if anybody was going to show up. And I'm doing the same thing because it's just inspiring,
Okay. So what got you involved in music to begin with? Is it something you did as a kid, or did you?
Yeah, well, my dad knew every song in the book, country. He had a band for 30 years. So, pickup truck driving around the farm, you couldn't help but, I grew up around it. And then I started writing when I was really young and have always written I'm a hobbyist. I'm not somebody that goes out there and, I guess I wouldn't say accolades, but I played a lot of Opry houses, which were also great. I mean, they were just good venues because they were listening folks. And that's I just don't know about the other performers, but for me, there just isn't nothing better. There just isn't nothing better. These people are it's just, what can you say?
Right.
You're getting to do what you love to do and sit around at home, write songs, and then share them with other people.
Right.
It's a songwriter's dream.
So for people who may not be familiar with the style of music, you say songwriter, and I hear folk and songwriting.
Oh, yeah, country.
Talk about
folk,
that.
Americana. You hear a lot of that out here. But I think it's easy to get into tags and stuff. I think every bit of this music I've ever heard out here is amazing. I mean, you just don't know who's going to show up. And the young people really are just so talented and inspiring. And I always like to go talk to them afterward and just give them
Some motivation.
Yes, because it's great. And look at what Tucker and Rachel have attracted, not only an audience, but these young performers and older performers. It's welcoming to. I don't think anybody feels out of place.
Yeah.
At least perform. Now that's a great. You got something going when people feel, somewhat comfortable. You get up there to play, you're not comfortable. I'm not, but it's a good. If you're going to get nervous.
Right.
It's a good nervous, It's
Especially if you like what you're about to get nervous doing.
Yes, absolutely. I mean, what do you, share music. That's what it's for.
So talk about this version of what you have going on in Alvin. Like you say, you kind of took some inspiration off of this. How's it grown and everything?
I found, I started with starting an organization and a brand. So I gave it a name like they did, and I just called it the Texas Music Gathering Association. So my plan was first to get a venue. So I went to the city Parks and Recreation Department and asked them what it would take to utilize the National Oak Park, which is beautiful. And they said, well, if you do this program through the city parks and register it through the people who perform, we won't charge you anything. And I thought, yeah. So, wow.
Eureka.
Hurdle one over, really easy.
Right.
And then it was just building it. The city built they already have a database, but they built us like if you'd sign up for any event, they made that part of it. So if you wanted to perform, and Mike Peterson was actually at the first. He's been at all the shows, very supportive, come all the way from over here, I'm sure he's got other things. And it's great because we see some overlap of performers, and I could go on forever. You just keep things like this going, and you hope there's more of this in the world.
Okay. And talk about the growth that you've seen out there. I know you probably started off small and it's gotten bigger.
Yeah,
What
we had about 50, about like what we had the first.
Right.
But I've only done 3 because like Tucker and them, you're doing it a lot on your own. So I'm going to really hopefully seek some help in the community, but I think it's there and the will to do it because the city called and asked if and I did. I joined they set up created a new board called the Alvin Music Advisory Board and asked if I'd sit on it. So I'm on that. So maybe maybe there's things happening.
Who knows?
You know, I know I'm sitting on those meetings and I'm trying to be helpful, and you know, and you know, I'm retired. I mean, I have a son that I raise, and he's number one important. But then I'm retired, so this is kind of my project. Like, it is some work too. You know, you have to organization and that's why hats off. You just can't believe this. If you'd been here the first show and walked that 2 years, this is still amazes me. It really does.
And how long has the One and Album been going on? 2 years?
No, I had a first year last year.
Okay.
So we found it, and I do have some people coming on board that I think hopefully are gonna, we'll see. You know, I did it all, but I'd like to. It cost a lot too. I mean, it was a lot. You know, there's a lot to it if you're gonna do it. You know.
Okay. So would it be accurate to say it's been around about a year?
Yeah. Oh yeah, for sure. And the city's trying to become a certified Texas music-friendly city. I believe League City already is, but that is actually sponsored through a state Senate bill that created that Texas Music Office. So I think there's like motivation for and I'm thinking, well, great. I mean, this is perfect timing because I have time and I can apply it to that.
And so if people want to learn more about what you've got going on in Alvin, do you have a website or social media set up?
TexasMusicGatheringassociation.com.
Very good. Thanks, Rudy.
Chris J. Hardy.
What got you in music to start with?
My first love was my grandparents would make me 50s mixtapes. And when you're like 5 years old, 3 years old, splish splash, I'm taking a bath. You understand that, you know, Monster Mash, Yakety Yak. There's a cartooniness to it that as a kid, I could understand. I was like, you can get that, you know. So 50s music was my first love, and my grandma would make me mixtapes of 50s music, the Baba da Baba Dabba Day Day. It was so cartoony that I loved it, and I knew, you know, since I was like 5 years old, that's what I wanted to be. I was seeing Elvis and Michael Jackson dance. I was like, I want to do that, and I don't think I've ever really had another goal, you know.
So it'd be fair to say that you were kind of a natural performer from a young age.
I was, yeah, probably. Well, you know, I think I always wanted the attention. When I was a kid, you're trying to fight for that attention, and I think, you know, me hamming it up, you know, dancing like Michael Jackson and Elvis just was fun. So yeah, I think probably, yeah.
When did you pick up the guitar, and was it something that came to you really easily, or did you have to work at it?
I had to work at it for sure. I grabbed a guitar right before I got in high. It was in junior high, and grunge had come out, and I think that really gravitated. You're like, because you listen to your parents' music, what people listen to, but then Nirvana came out and grunge came. I was like, oh, this is my music, you know, and then. So I wanted a guitar, and I wanted to just play, you know, my grunge and rock and roll, you know. So I gravitated towards that, grabbed a guitar and a distortion pedal, and just wanted to rock out, you know. So,
was it a matter of taking official lessons from somewhere, or did you just pick it up as you go, or maybe some friends help you along the way?
I never took lessons. No. When you're a teenager, you just like, you know, I literally locked myself in my room and just did it by the heart. There was no YouTube. There was no, you know, you didn't have any channels to really learn. There was no internet yet, so I didn't even have any books. I just sat there and made it up. And in doing that exploration, you find even your own sound at times. But I think you learn through trial and error. Oh, that sounded horrible. Don't do that again. So I think I learned from just sitting in my room playing, and then you come across a few friends you can jam with. You're like, how'd you do that, you know? And so it takes longer. I mean, now we got, you know, kids that are, you know, 5 years old watching YouTube that are shredding because they have all the tools at their disposal, and good for them. I mean, use whatever you got. But back then, it was just trial and error and a couple of good friends along the way showing you a chord or two.
Yeah. Now, do you come from the area, or did you come from outside the area?
No, I'm born and raised in the greater Bay Area, you know. Okay. Yeah, lived here my whole life. I travel around. This is a great place to call home. It really is. If you live in the greater Houston area, you can be anything you want. You're geographically blessed. You can have anything and be anything. If you're not where you want to be and what you want to be, it's your own fault. You have every opportunity here. Right. So I keep coming home.
Okay. I had a couple people say, you want to make sure and interview Chris because this is kind of his full-time thing. He's doing this 5-6 days a week. So is that true?
Yeah, I know. I've done nothing but music my whole life. I moved out of the house at 18 with a baby and a guitar, and I was like, well, let's figure it out. So I worked for Guitar Center for 10 years while I was touring and playing and battling it out on the weekends, trying to make it back then, you know. But I've been in bands my whole life, and now I'm very blessed. I make a living playing, 4 or 5 nights a week at restaurants, bars, whatever. So, but I'm willing to. I'm an entertainer for a living, so I'll go places and play cover songs, play whatever you want, So I'm an entertainer for a living, but I still am an artist, and so I'm an artist for free. It's like nights like tonight are about being an artist. You can play your songs in a room with people that want to listen. You're not in a crowded restaurants where the plates are clinking and nobody even cares you're there. You're like, play something we know. Tonight you have a quiet audience of people that are really came to hear artists play their songs. Right. So that's the special thing about tonight. But yeah, I'm blessed. I've never done anything else. I've been a musician my whole life, and I have no dream. I'm not trying to be the next big thing. I'm just trying to pay the next big bill. You know what I'm saying? So.
I hear that. There's so many starving artists out there. Doesn't sound like you're starving. Sounds like you've had quite a bit of success.
I found a way to make it work for me. I'm willing to go to restaurants and play songs for people and make them happy, and it makes me happy. My worst day doing that is better than my best day in like the warehouse. Or it's just I enjoy it, and so I can compartmentalize, and be that entertainer, and so that helps me make that living. Even if you out touring the world again, I was in a band again touring and playing that. It's hard to make a living. Spotify and all these streaming services really don't pay. There's no record stores, there's no record deals. You have to do it because you love it. But I still found a way, and I wished everybody could do that. Find what they enjoy and find a way to make money at it. There's a way. If you're a painter, when you die, your paintings might sell for $1 million, but on the weekends you can still paint murals, you can paint walls, you can paint faces. You can find a way to make a living with your skill set. And so I'm willing to go to restaurants and bars and entertain. But when I get a chance to be an artist, there's still that side of me that has to come out, and nights like tonight are about being an artist, and that's what's great about tonight.
Okay. Now, being a writer myself, obviously not a songwriter, there's different styles of writing. I don't understand music composition. Probably most people don't. Shed some light on the process of how you come up with these songs.
I think really some of the best things, you can write about things you see in other people's experiences, but most of my songs come from a personal experience. And when you're having that moment, and something's going to strike you. So typically it's just one feeling, one line will come to me. I just need that hook. I need that one line, and then I kind of build. And I want the music to match the sound of the song. If it's happy lyrics, you should have a happy sounding thing. So you kind of want the music to match the mood, if you will. And so I kind of find a balance in between those two. Like if it's a sad song, you should have a sad sounding song. And so you find that balance of what am I trying to express with the guitar or whatever instrument you're playing. You want to match the mood and of whatever you're playing to that. So between the two, I take it from personal experience and then apply it to the music and make them match together somehow. And then sometimes you just observe and report. You're observing what you see, and I might write about somebody else's experience, or I might write about, whatever you might be, just a story. You might make something completely fictional. You could write complete fiction, just like writing. If you're a writer, like you are, you have your fiction, you have your autobiography, so some songs are autobiographical, some songs are pure fiction, and some are a blend between the two. Sometimes you can take creative liberties, give it the happy ending you didn't get in real life, give it the sad ending, whatever it might be. So in between the two, it can be purely fiction, nonfiction, or you can just blend the two together. So,
people who develop their art into a career like you have, there's a big risk. If you get sick, you get hurt. There's not workman's comp or anything like that. Talk about the risks.
I've been literally, my voice, maybe it's got that sexy, raspy thing going, but I've been sick for 3 weeks. Don't worry, it's not COVID. It's not COVID. I've been on antibiotics, but that's a real thing. Like I've literally had to cancel 5 shows in the last 2 weeks, and that comes out of your pocket. There's no workman's comp. There's no 401k. But I'm blessed that I stay so busy that I just take a break when I need to. I'm my own boss. Thankfully, I don't have an HR department. If I can't work and I can't use my voice, then I just take the night off. And I'm like, that's just the way it is. But that's the risk you take when you do work for yourself. Sometimes you've got to get up, do the gig anyway, tough it out, So there's a risk in everything, but I guarantee you doing something you love on your own terms is far better than doing it for somebody else who's just going to get mad when you're sick and be like, oh, bring me a doctor's. I ain't got, no, So there's a risk in everything you're going to do, so you might as well choose happiness.
So I'm going to ask you a slightly loaded question. Let's see if we can navigate our way through it. So many people do what you do. There's a lot of singers. There's a lot of singers here tonight, but not all of them are doing this full time. They've not had the success that obviously you've had. In your opinion, there's probably a 20-point list that you could make up of why musicians make it and why musicians fail. If you could pick one that you've known from your experiences with other people, why do most people who start this fail to connect to an audience and therefore justify doing this as a career?
Most people do it safe. It's safe to have a day job. It is safe to work for somebody else. It's safe to not pursue your passion in life, whatever that might be, whether it's a singer or whatever it might be. It's safer to do the status quo normal thing. And there's an advantage to that too. So it's a double-edged sword. You know, the guy that goes to work and hates his job, but then goes out on a Friday night and pours his heart out, there's something to be said for that. And he's not worried about the money. So there's a passion there that speaks for itself. That I miss those days sometimes, you know, where it's like, not everybody needs to make a living doing it. If that's what they're happy with, you do what's happy for you. But making money with your art, it's a give and a take. Like I said, for a living, I have to go play cover songs to make a living. I wish my music paid the bills, and maybe one day it'll get there. But in the meantime, you have to learn, and some people aren't willing to do that. I'm willing to go be an entertainer, and then have the nights where I'm an artist. But not everybody can make a living doing it, because not everybody, you know, wants to do that avenue per se. And, you know, you're not doing your art for the money. So I think it's about work ethic and fear. It's like, I'm willing to go 5 nights a week and play in front of complete strangers that could care less if I'm there. They're eating a burger, and adapt to whatever room. If it's a wine bar, play quietly. Read a room. I'm willing to read the room and play to the, what do they want? If they're in the mood to listen to my songs, great. I'd love for them to hear them. But if they just want to rock out on a Friday night and dance and sing along, then play songs like that. So if it's a rowdy room, get rowdy. If it's a quiet room, be quiet. I don't let my pride get in the way, where I'm like, I realize what my job is. My job is to read the room and play to that room. And that's how I can make a living. But not everybody wants to do that or should do that. If you're happy with what you're at and going out once a month and pouring your heart out and playing your songs, then do that. Do what makes you happy. Not everybody needs to make a living doing it, you know? So in that balance, find what's right for you. Now, if you can, absolutely. There's ways to sell t-shirts, sell your stuff, sell yourself, but work. I'm willing to go out 3 to 5 nights a week, do whatever it takes to make a living. You know, I've worked at the guitar stores for 10 years, did that, you know, I've taught guitar, whatever it takes. There's something you can do with your skill set to make money. But again, it's not always about the money. Nights like tonight are free. I'm not making any money. You're not making any money. Everyone here is doing it for free. But that's where the guy with the day job can just come here and play his songs that make him feel better. And there's something about that that's genuine. So if you're always worried about the money, then I don't know. So it's not for everybody to make a living. You got to decide for yourself. So
AI. What do you feel about AI and it's creeping in on some creative endeavors like what you do, like what I do? Do you have any fear of that taking over one day for what you do?
For what we do, no. In a sense of, nobody's going to sit here tonight at a park on a beautiful night and we're going to set up a laptop and we're going to listen to a computer. There's no performance there. Tonight people are performing, and when you see somebody genuinely pouring their heart out, AI can't replace that experience of the live performance. Sure, you can record, it can do things outside, but the live performance, AI cannot duplicate that, at least now. But I can see in other avenues, like if you're a graphic artist right now, you're in high competition with AI. If you are trying to write and you're a writer in text format, but luckily for live performance sake, I don't fear AI on that level. So if that makes sense. As far as a live performance, there's nothing will replace somebody who's pouring their heart out. And, you know, that's just undeniable.
Do you think it's going to change the music industry as a whole? Now, obviously it can't come out here and perform, and it can't engage with people the way you can, but we just admitted that it is starting to creep in on other aspects of it. How do you see it changing music, just in general, over the next 5 years, as rapidly as it's developing?
Again, the average Joe can now make music easier than they ever could before. Recording studios used to take up just like a big computer, like it would take up a warehouse for a recording studio, and now you've got it in the palm of your hand. You can record music that sounds incredibly well. So I think it will actually, artistically as a tool, will make it easier for artists to be artists. But in that, you're going to have people that actually have raw, natural talent, and you're going to have people that rely on that. And will, on an auditory way, on the radio, can you tell the difference? Probably not sometimes as we get into the future. But again, live performance-wise, it'll be undeniable. But as a tool, you can't put the genie back in the bottle. So as a tool, it will be used. And as we go into the future, you're going to find that tool will open up, and there's going to be a whole new genre maybe that'll open up, and it might be an exciting time for that youth. That will be their music for their time, and us dinosaurs will be like, my music was better, and that's an easy avenue to say, but it'll be a tool in the future that they'll use for better or for worse. But it'll make making music easier for some that have maybe no talent or less talent. They can't play an actual instrument, but I need a blues song in the key of G, and they can tell the computer to write, and then they can just sing their words over it. So the words will be genuine, maybe. They have genuine things to say, but they don't have the skill set to write the music. So it'll allow that poet to bridge the gap between, I don't know actually know how to play guitar, but I need... So I think as a tool it can be used for better or for worse, but you can't. So, but again, there's going to be people that have the natural talent, and when you're watching them, they're going to set themselves apart. So I don't fear it, because it will never replace somebody that has natural raw talent and emotion and feels it and performs it. You can see the difference, and so I don't worry about it from that perspective. But again, to the listener listening to things on the radio, yeah, you might not be able to tell the difference if it's a real guitar, a real keyboard, or a real player. But live, I don't worry about it at all. And that's it.
So Chris, if people want to learn more about you, book you, or buy any of your merchandise or download any of your music, what's the best place for them to find all that information?
You just Google me, Chris J. Hardy. You can find anything you need to find. I'm pretty easily reachable, and I'd love to hear from you, so just find me.
Very good. Thanks, Chris.
Thank you for your time.
Best of luck.
It's Mohammed Solomon.
Sarah Radwan.
Do you live in the League City area, or do you live outside this area?
We live in Friendswood. Yeah, we've been living there for almost 11 years.
11 years, okay.
Yeah, we're from born and raised in Egypt, and we moved to the U.S. about like 17 years ago, and to Texas about 11 years ago.
Okay. Now, talk about that, I guess, the cultural experience coming from Egypt to America. Particularly, let me ask you this. When you came here, did you come straight to Friendswood, or you said Texas, so Texas and then worked your way to Friendswood, or how'd that all work out?
Yeah, we kind of moved between states, so we started with Baltimore, Maryland, and then New Jersey, Long Branch, New Jersey, and then we lived in Shreveport, Louisiana for 3 years, and then St. Louis, Missouri, and then Houston, Texas was our last stop, and we kind of stayed around here.
Okay.
Yeah, did a lot of state hopping. Yeah.
So what brought y'all here in the first place? Was it just wanted to get out of Egypt and check out America, or was it jobs or college or what?
Mainly jobs, mainly work, yeah.
We just better career opportunities here. I'm a physician, so.
Oh, okay. Okay. Yep, can't hardly beat the Houston Medical Center, so or even turning into like the League City Medical Center now. Very good. So, talking about this event in particular, what brought you guys out? Like, how did you hear about it?
I would say Facebook, I think, is where I got to know about it. And this is us just, we're intrigued with history and learning about what's going on out there, plus live music, of course. Okay. Yes.
Okay. Now, talking about history and cultures, I mean, Egypt goes back thousands. I mean, you have history like no other. And you come here, and our history goes back maybe 120 years. So, you can educate us about history. But, it's one thing that they're trying to do out here is promote a lot of history and preserving what they can. What intrigued you? Was it just the music, or was it? You talked a little bit about the history and what they're trying to do intrigued you. What intrigued? What do you think about this kind of an event?
So when we walked in, the coffee shop had all these posters of like, it was actually the layout of League City about 100 years ago or 120 years ago, something like that. And it was just an eye-opener that, wow, this city was this really nice small town, and and we see how much it grew, and you can't. It looks outside. It looks like just a large metropolitan city, but down here in this society, you feel that small town feel that was 100 years ago, and they're trying to preserve it through these events, I think. And it's just, I think it's, for me, it's something spectacular to see what the origins of these large cities once were, and people trying to put effort to actually preserve these things. So.
And with the conveniences we have around here, it's great to have all the conveniences, but sometimes it seems like, between developers and sometimes even city governments trying to just put stuff in there for tax base, they carve up a lot of history. A lot of these old buildings and homes around here that used to exist don't exist anymore. So even in Friendswood, I know there's some historic stuff over there, but not like over here. So is this the kind of music that you would find yourself listening to, or is this kind of a new experience for you guys?
It won't be my regular, but it's something that I would like to listen to, especially with the history background behind it and appreciating history no matter how far it goes back. And honestly, as someone in the occupational therapy field, I love how this playground isn't an inclusive playground. I just noticed that. So there's that part to it. And I know there's jazz tomorrow, and I like jazz, so I'll probably be back tomorrow.
You're going to come back out for jazz. Okay. All right.
As far as the music, for me, I think just having local artists sitting down and practicing before they go in and just feeling like this is a completely local thing. The artists are local, the audience is more or less local. For me, that's kind of entertainment in itself. It's like, my God, this is for real. Like, this is the real deal. I just feel the vibe is nice to kind of feel that, these people were maybe some of them were here 40, 50, 60, 70 years ago. Maybe their grandparents lived here. Just that thought just makes me feel this is a really nice, cozy place. And, and I don't care. You don't have to have like 6,000-7,000 years of history to have history. I think 100 years is more than enough to get you that, life was much slower and more enjoyable at some point, and that's kind of what I felt here.
I think we really appreciate local in general, like local artists, local products, but even us being from Egypt, I think it's that mutual appreciation too that you all, whoever, those who grew up here, they get to have that sense of history and family and belonging that we would like for our families back in Egypt too. So
Absolutely. Now, would you say there are any parallels between, I'm sure you guys visit, go back and visit family, stuff like that from time to time. If say I were to go back over there with you, go visit, right, would you experience an Egyptian version of live music? Is that tradition there? Oh, really? Okay. So it's not like this is new. I've never experienced this before.
And I think we would, to give you a better tour, we would take you on an insider tour of Egypt, which would include things like this, rather than the pyramids and the other, touristy places.
We'll probably take you to a very busy market called Khan el Khalili. They have live music. Exactly. They have all kinds of authentic food and drinks.
That's exactly what it'll be. It'll be something that's really authentic, and it's going to be only a few hundred years ago. It's not going to be thousands and thousands of years, because it's something we can relate to, something I could feel I was part of this. When you stretch back thousands of years, you lose kind of, you don't feel, was I that? My grandfather wasn't really doing this, but here you feel that a lot of these people had family members who actually lived here and sat around in these places, walked in these streets, stuff like that. I feel that attaches me to a land a lot more than stretching thousands and hundreds of thousands of years.
Still has her grandmother's pair of shoe, I guess. That's what he mentioned.
Oh yeah,
something like that.
Yeah, all these things. Or this school was the first one, or my grandparents did that, or my parents went to this school. Whenever I hear that, I feel, wow, this is nice. Life. I always feel attracted to places that had just this serene history. I don't care much for really big cities, although I've lived in a lot of them and I work in a lot of them. But those smaller cities, I feel people are just kinder and more understanding, and the kind of community I enjoy my kids growing around. And we've lived in all these smaller suburbs away from the hustle of big cities. And I always kind of look for these cities whenever I travel anywhere.
And I like how we're bringing these kind of events to our southeast area rather than having
to
to go up to
downtown.
downtown. Yes, so more of that, please.
And so many times people will say that even though you may have someone from a completely different cultural background, music, traditions, in folk music in general, which they're featuring here tonight, is really kind of songs of people's history and songs of culture and stuff like that. But would you say that that's one of those things that I guess the universal connection with people is kind of music and shared traditions?
Oh, yes.
Yeah, I totally think that these kind of music festivals where people just do the songs that people can relate to at different age groups, and they've heard them in their households, even younger. Even my kids now, when they listen to Egyptian music that I used to hear as a kid, although they've been almost born in the U.S. and lived through years, they could still relate. Hey, this is where my parents used to hear as a teenager, and they would kind of feel, wow, my life must have been nice there then, or stuff like that. I think music bridges that kind of gap in history.
Yeah, and then being an expressive art, I can see it, especially with local artists, that they're not trying to satisfy someone else, or they're not trying to perform for someone else. This is just them making up their own lyrics, and there's that passion in there that it's all very personal to them.
Do either one of you have a music background? Any of you play music? Show up down here the next one, maybe feature some of your own songwriting skills?
I don't want to be, no, not yet.
Air guitar. A lot of us can play air guitar.
Yeah, I've tried, but it really didn't work out.
Now for feedback from the event from Mike Peterson, the president of the League City Historical Society.
Well, we heard a couple of different counts. First, my son-in-law went ahead and did a quick count early on, and he anticipated over 300. Then as the evening went on, I started hearing that we probably had close to 500 people come and go throughout the evening. I think being our second event there at the park, League Park, what was so important was to see, as we grow, the importance of having that room. And not only the room just for people to wander and people to enjoy, Soul Freak, the new visitor center, but then to have the facilities, the restrooms, also, which I think is key since it is such a family-focused event, is having the playground there for the kids. That way the children could go do their thing, with a little supervision in that based on their age, but then the adults could also have their section there for the adult listening room. Okay. I mean, another thing that was so cool is, I don't know if a lot of people picked up on this, but it was a full moon. It was absolutely beautiful. We could see that big moon coming up. I mean, and to have a listening room under the stars, under there, that people literally have a chance to listen to, not the chatter on the side. So what I think we will do in the future, if anybody wants to join, we get them further away from the bricked area, giving them time to, again, people sitting in that bricked area can listen specifically to the music. You know what was cool is I get all the city emails and all that stuff, and there was one from John Bumgardner, our city manager. And John's a wonderful person. And John, whenever we had the JC League House right here, because we honored them, and when they came into town, and we ended up having an event over here at my wife's place, Lilia's son, brought them over to the museum, and they got a chance to see all the pictures. And John Bumgardner was here, Pat Hallisey, and everybody. So I've gotten to know John really well. So for him now to post for us and put out a broad message to everybody about not only even the advertisement show jazz concert, but when it first kicked off, it said Friday, February the 23rd, League City Folk Association and the League City Historical Society. Anyway, it was worded such as the city has partnered with these groups for this wonderful family-focused event. And I loved it. As we've been really stressing family focus, now the city is saying the same thing, family focus. It's got to be about the family. Yeah.
And now, thoughts from Tucker Hart, co-founder of the League City Folk Association. Tucker was one of 13 musicians who played during the concert back on January 23rd in League Park.
It was amazing. Like I always say, we have the best audience around. We put in a ton of work. The Historical Society puts in a ton of work, and the city is immensely blessing us with the park and the facilities, and Parks and Recreations Department did a phenomenal job as always. But the biggest draw to come out is our audience. I mean, with that many people, and they did their best to make it an outdoor listening room, or outdoor listening environment. Room isn't quite the right word, but to have that many people locked in on you and quiet and hearing you pour your heart out on that stage, man, I've had a lot of musicians coming up. You know, they play to huge events, but the nerves start when they get up and people are quiet. You know, it's kind of nervous when you have 50 people, let alone 500 people and up, quiet and focused and listening to you. But it's a beautiful thing because, you know, as musicians, we're normally just playing. We're background noise a lot of times, unfortunately, and playing to backs. And so to have that many people come out, make it a part of their month, bring their friends and family, and just come out and listen, man, it was beautiful. I heard a lot of really great things.